we have the original manuscript, which Joseph Smith dictated to a number of different scribes. And then we have a copy of that, like we said, called the printer's manuscript. And then we have the first edition of 1830. So I want to show here something that you've shared, which is the original. And actually, before I get to the original manuscript, how do we have the original manuscript? Because that's a story in itself.
Well, that's why it looks like a Dead Sea Scroll. It is fragmented and broken up because Joseph Smith put it in the cornerstone of the Nauvoo House, a hotel that was being built in Nauvoo in 1840.
That's Nauvoo, Illinois.
Yeah, Nauvoo, Illinois, and it sat there for 41 years. Mm-hmm. And the seal had broken, and water got in, and mold ate most of the manuscript up, and there was probably 30% left. And
and here we have a picture. Tell me if this is correct. This is the.
That's right. Picture. There's the cornerstone.
So this is the actual stone in which Joseph Smith placed the Book of Mormon. And you're saying water got in the original manuscript, and water got in.
The seal broke. Yeah, it was a hot lead seal they put around it.
Okay.
The real problem was that he thought he was preserving it. Of course, he was guaranteeing its destruction by putting it in there. But Bideman, after his wife died, who was Emma Smith, Joseph's wife. After she had died, he said, I'm going to finish that building out there. And so he started tearing things apart. He came upon the cornerstone. He didn't know it was there. Opened it up and found that some of the middle portion and the very top had been preserved in all this mass of, being eaten away and so forth. He gave away most of it to LDS people. He wasn't a Mormon. And he gave it away to LDS people that he thinks showed respect to it and weren't just interested in monetary aspects of it. So that's what he did. And most of that, 25.5%, have ended up in the LDS church archives. A lot of it is fragmented. And part of my job was to take some of the fragments that were owned by other people in the Salt Lake area and put them together. But we have about 3% were owned by the Wilford Wood family, and Wilford Wood went back east and got those fragments from the son of Louis Bideman in 1937. So some of the fragments were discovered only later. There's some of the fragments from the last two leaves. The main owner of that had received this material from Louis Bideman was going to give them to the church about 1950. And he lived in the Hotel Utah, and he was there talking to the housekeeper, who was LDS, explaining to her what he was going to donate. And the fragments fell on the ground from the last two leaves. And she picks them up and hands them to him. And he says, oh, you keep those. You keep those. So the family has these fragments, and they've been divided up amongst family members, 5, 6 of them. But we've been able to track them down and photograph them and everything, and some of them have been donated to the church. People have kept these things. So the history of this is really, something almost like some of the Dead Sea Scrolls where.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of, let's say, like the Cairo Geniza or the Aleppo Codex, where, let's say, the Aleppo Codex, the most important manuscript of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. We have 2/3 of it at the Israel Museum, and a third of it was believed burned, but now it's believed that it was stolen or taken, and it might be sitting somewhere in South America or in Europe.
Oh, no.
And there was a taxi driver in New York who was from Aleppo, and he was a Jew who fled from Aleppo, and he walked by the synagogue of Aleppo the day after it was ransacked in 1947 by Muslim mobs. and he picked up 2 pieces of the Aleppo Codex and he walked around with them in his pocket for decades.
Oh,
And when he died, his wife sent them into the Israel Museum. So we have 2 fragments that were believed of the section that was believed destroyed,
and that gives
and
a,
that have
a
survived.
track to it. Yeah.
Oh, they're extremely important because they're from Exodus, and most of the Torah portion of the Aleppo Codex is missing. So they're a really important witness to the Aleppo
Right.
Codex. And then we have a photograph from a guy who was traveling through Syria in the 1800s, and he bribed the synagogue official in Aleppo and took a photograph and published it. And that's from one of the missing pages. So we have
Yeah,
some
you get
interesting
this kind of
parallels
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I want to show a page here. I'm going to do the share screen. So here we have page 4 of the original manuscript. Tell us what we're looking at here. I
Okay.
labeled the different scribes, but tell us, how do you know there's different scribes here?
Well, Oliver Cowdery has a very fine hand. One particular characteristic is he always writes out AND with an ampersand, unless it's an initial chapter one, which is a capital A, then he'll write it out capital AND. But otherwise, it's got that. And it's, after you've studied his hand for decades, you know it. The next one down below took some time to identify. It's John Whitmer. This means that the first part of the Book of Mormon is actually translated last because it covers the portion that had been lost of the 116 pages. So John Whitmer is one of the Whitmers were the people that Joseph Smith was staying with and doing the finishing up the translation, and he acted as a scribe. And they always begin where there's a break in the text. They don't do it in the middle of a phrase. So, and it came to pass.
Here, let me zoom in here so people can see the transition. And this is the part when I looked at it, I got it wrong. And so now I've corrected it.
So the AND is Whitmer, and it's true the first 3 words, the quill isn't giving out the ink properly, probably. But the AND is definitely his AND. Notice the line right below it has go and do, and that same kind of. Whereas if you look up at Oliver Cowdery's got this wonderful ampersand. There's 50,000 ampersands that Oliver Cowdery wrote. And he doesn't deviate from this. So anyway, that's one thing. But notice that the pass, PASS, that P is very open.
This one here?
The elongated S, that's a sign of the Whitmers. The Whitmers were of a German background, and they like to use this double S like that.
So this says PASS.
That's right.
Okay.
And you can go down below, look down about 5 lines, and it says it came to pass. There's another PASS by him.
Okay.
Came to pass.
That's almost like the German S said. Is that kind of what we're?
Yeah, that's right. It's being influenced by that.
Okay. Wow.
So this is definitely.
Why is this so much thicker? Why is John Whitmer's writing letters? Is it a different pen they're using, or is it how he holds the pen?
I don't know. Oliver Cowdery always liked a sharp quill, and you can see that one.
So it is a different pen.
It's not quill. Necessarily. But I think the basic thing is that he's dipping it with getting more ink on it. The John Whitmer. And so notice the first 3 words, and it came, are Oliver's. That's why you interpreted it that way.
Right.
Level of ink. But that was probably because he was using the quill of Oliver to continue.
Yeah. But I mean, this is amazing to me because here we're doing something I wish I could do with the book of Exodus, which is, is this the handwriting of Joshua? And here's the handwriting of Moses. And I don't have that opportunity. It's amazing that we can do this in the original manuscript.
It does turn out to be very important for this issue of easier and difficult readings.